This week on Angelo's Workbench, the Ferrari project zooms ahead. Stick around. So I have opted for some red interior accents on my Ferrari, as you saw when I did the seats. So I have decided to do the steering wheel flat red. And now the whole wheel isn't going to be flat red, and this is pretty awesome the way the kit is. There is a horn pad that's going to glue in the front of that will be black. And then there is also a decal that goes on the wheel for the multitude of F1 style buttons that are all over this thing. So the steering wheel, while I'm painting it all red now, very little of it will be red, actually. There are also decals that go along the wheel rim. So there will be plenty of variation in color on that steering wheel. And then with the dashboard here, the only part of the dashboard that I want red is the bottom. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that without getting paint on the end. So I'm just going to throw a glove on real quick. Even though it's water-based paint, it washes right off. I still don't need a red hand. So I'm doing the red first because it will be the easiest to mask off. The only part that's going to remain flat red is the part down here by the glove box. So I will mask this section here and this part here, and then the part where the steering wheel won't matter because that gets covered up anyway. And then I will shoot the top half black once the flat red cures, and then I can go in and mask it. That pretty much covers it right there. And that's the extent of what's going to be flat red on the interior, on the dashboard. The bottom part and then the steering wheel itself. So next we will come in with the flat black parts, the silver parts, and then we'll have a dashboard painted and ready for assembly. There's only a little part that's silver, these air vents. Boy, does that make it easy to detail them out. Instead of having to mask and spray or do some very fine brush work. Hey, here's 4 separate little parts that glue onto the dashboard. It's genius. It's one of the things that makes the dashboard almost a kit in itself. Really, really pretty cool. Here we go with the black. So I've got the binnacle here, and I've attached it with an alligator clip where it's not really going to matter. This flat part is going to get covered with PE and a decal anyway. So you'll never see that there's a small part with no paint on it. Just going to let that cure. That's going to take a couple of coats and years. Pop that in the dehydrator for a moment. And this is the steering column, for lack of a better term. The part that the steering wheel attaches to. And then simultaneously attaches to the dash. That cure. And then we have the little horn button that goes in the center of the steering wheel really cool. And then this is the part that the small piece of photo etch metal attaches to, and gets a Ferrari logo. And again, I'll probably do a little dab of epoxy over the top of it like I did on the wheel ones. Those came out just looking so great. I'm spraying some air to dry that paint. No pullback on the trigger. Just dry it up a little bit, because there was a spot that was the paint didn't want to stick to. So now I'm just going with mist and then some air, and then just a little tiny bit of mist and some air, and that usually straightens that problem out pretty good. I've washed this resin, but sometimes you don't get it all. And that problem is solved. It's a nice black part there right now. So I'm just going to go over it one more time. Ensure full and complete coverage. And that's that. So I've masked off the portion of the dashboard that I want to stay red. And now I'm just going to go in here with very slight, very, very light essence of black, because I'm up against that tape line. I don't want to hit it too hard. I don't want paint going in the capillary action between the layer of the tape and the red dashboard. I'm building up the color on this part very, very slowly. And it's also enabling me to get in all the nooks and crannies. Though some of those nooks and crannies will be filled in with a silver air vent that I have painted separately. Cool looking dashboard. This thing is molded. Really, really nice. Alright, well, the only spot left to get is the spot where my fingers were. Go. That looks pretty good. So we'll set that aside. Put that here. So the first thing I wanted to do for assembly was this steering wheel, and what you see here is all of the parts for the steering wheel. There is the small round photo etch piece for the round. Whoop! And it's stuck to my knife. That's interesting. For the decal that goes in the center of the wheel button. Those pieces make up a piece that then goes into the wheel. The wheel is here. Then there is this photo etch metal piece, which goes onto the back of the steering wheel for the paddles and goes sandwiched in between the steering wheel holder and the steering wheel, steering column, whatever you want to call that. And then there are all of the decals. These all get applied to the wheel. That one is obviously for the paddles because they are carbon fiber. This one goes in the center of the wheel and represents all of the buttons. And then this is carbon fiber for the top of the wheel, carbon fiber for the bottom of the wheel, and then this little piece goes right there. It really is quite an amazing deal. So I'm going to get started with the decal work first, and then we will put all of the parts together and have a steering wheel. Amazing. The steering wheel is a model in itself. So I started to think about this, and I think applying a decal to a loose piece of PE is going to be like herding cats. So I have determined that this steering column mounts in the upward position like that. So I now know which way is up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop the ever so slightest amount of crazy glue onto here. And I'm going to place the photo etch metal on, let it cure, because then I will have something to work with to hold on to before I attempt to attach the decal. And again, just because applying a decal to a loose piece of photo etched metal I view as being potentially troublesome. So there. So I will just let that cure, and then we'll come back and stick a decal on it. The same thing goes for this tiny little round piece of metal that has to go on the horn button. Now for that, I'm going to use a small piece of tape because I cannot apply out of the applicator or out of the bottle like that. So I'll just make a little dab on the tape, and then I'll use my fancy crazy glue applicator right here to just put a little tiny dab on the wheel, and then we can stick this on there. There's a fuzzy. There we go. And again, we'll just let that photo etch metal piece cure, and then we can come in with the decal and be good to go. So while that is curing, we can move ahead and work on the steering wheel a little bit. So we have a multitude of decals here for this wheel. And I'm not necessarily going to do them all at the same time. So I'm going to split them up a little bit. I think that I will do these two at the same time, and then I will do those two at the same time. And then I'll throw the entire thing into the dehydrator to let it cure. So there we go. I hear geese outside. They're going the wrong way. They were going the wrong way yesterday, too. There was a ton of them, and they were all headed north. And I'm like, I hate to tell you, but you're going to run into some weather up there. We got snow last night for the first time of the season. We only got an inch, but still, it's snow. So I'm going to put a little Mark Fit Strong in the center of this wheel. And a little bit, not a lot. There we go. Because I've discovered that this takes my paint off. So here comes the center of the steering wheel decal. Wow, that looks great. That's good stuff. And then the other one goes on the top of the wheel. And I believe it does so in such a way that it goes down the sides. There we go. And let's see here. We'll just take this. And then what it does is wrap around the steering wheel. These top parts wrap around the wheel. because then these parts here and here must be leather. So then what we need is we need some Mark Fit Strong in there. And we need a lot of it. So I'm going to let the Mark Fit Strong do its work on this decal for a few moments, while I move it into position. I had it in position, and then applying the Mark Fit to it moved it out of position. It lines right up with the lines that are on the wheel. Like, it's incredible how this works. What we need is some heat. So I think what I'm going to do is pop this into the dehydrator just like that. And I'll let the heat from the dehydrator work its magic, and then we'll come in and we'll bend the decal around, and that should be it. While that part is in the dehydrator, we will get to work straight away with applying the Ferrari logo to the horn button, which I believe is going to be, need to make sure the right side up part is the big part, and I believe it is. Yes. Here we go. So, and I want to put this button on upside down. That would not be ideal. There we go. Now I just need a little dab of the Mark Fit Strong. Kind of hold everything in place there whilst I arrange this. My prancing horse has to be at about the right angle. It's not a running horse, it's not a sitting horse, it's a prancing horse, so. And there goes that. That looks good. And now we'll come in. We'll get this guy going. We'll get a little Mark Fit Strong on this photo etch metal paddle, which, by the way, is super cool. That really looks the part. And there we have it. Wow, that's great. There you have it. That looks good. And there's the photo etched metal paddle, ready to go. Now let's see how we did on the steering wheel. Pull it out of the dehydrator. And let's see if we can bend it around the wheel. The guys use a Q-tip for this. I do as well sometimes. Sometimes I like to use my finger. Oh, it's coming along. Coming along quite well. Need just a little bit more Mark Fit in here. There we go. we go. And then this side must fold over it. I'm going to use a toothpick, actually. There we go. Again, a little bit more. The problem with the Q-tip is it dries as it goes, which is okay sometimes, but sometimes you want it to stay. You want the Mark Fit solution to stay there doing its job still while you are pushing on it. Alright, that's that. So now it just needs to cure. I'm going to give it another shot with some Mark Fit. Now I can put on the bottom pieces here. And see how fast those decals are ready to go? It's fantastic. That guy goes right there. Because he's carbon fiber. And he has to bend around that wheel as well. So we got to get the Mark Fit going on him. Impressive. And then this piece here goes on the bottom like this. And is going to wrap entirely around this bottom piece. So again, we're going to need to Mark Fit it with the decal set solution. Pop it into the dehydrator with some heat. There we go. Now I need to just move it. Very easy to line up these decals too, because they have they match right up with the engraved lines on the wheel, which is there goes that center one. That center one just fell into place. And wow, does it look great. All these little carbon fiber accents are, if you can stand the tedium of this work, the results are quite worth it. And this guy is not ready to bend. He needs some heat. So we'll pop this whole thing in the dehydrator and be right back. Well, time to finish off this model kit that is the steering wheel. I've got a little bit of glue here, and I'm just getting ready to install the horn button. I have never had a model kit where the horn button was a separate piece, but it's fantastic. And it gives you a great looking result as far as around that decal and the different colors. And then now we've got a little bit of a flat black in with a little bit of a gloss black. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then the only other thing left is to put the wheel in this little area here, which has already been kind of assembled. So I've got a little dab of crazy glue in there, and now this wheel just kind of is going to slide on in there. Ooh-wee. And then, wow, that is the steering wheel with the photo etch metal shifter, paddle shifters with the carbon fiber. I've got a little tiny piece of touch-up to do on the top of that wheel, that red right there, and I'll get that. And then there's the wheel. So there you go. So some happenings here at the workbench. I've actually moved to the other side of the room. You can't tell, but I can. It's a tremendous difference and much better. I've organized my room a little differently. I've also upgraded my camera. I was using the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and ever since I had to have the camera repaired by Apple back around August, the camera was kind of a little wonky. So I've upgraded to the 15 Pro Max, and now that is what I am using here, and hopefully the camera will be noticeable. The dashboard has been completed, and I'm going to be moving through this now a little bit off camera because I need to move things along. This kit is complicated. It has a tremendous amount of parts, tremendous amount of steps, and so I am trying to keep things moving, and so that we can move on to the next build, which is coming up very soon. So I'll be doing some work off camera. Besides the dashboard that I have completed, I have done some decal work on the interior. You can see that there is some carbon fiber decals here. They are still curing. This whole back section is all carbon fiber decals. I've also done some painting off camera. The door panels are also curing. There's carbon fiber here, here, and then here, a decal there. And then there are some red parts that I've painted, door handles and the such that will go onto the door panels, and we're going to move all that along. So I'm going to do a little bit more work off camera, and then I'll bring you back, and we'll talk some more. So let's talk about the progress I've made on the Ferrari SF90. I have finished the interior and this engine compartment, and I will show you here. There is surprisingly few parts on this, and they look very good. I did not go crazy in detailing because on the body there is a little tiny hole, and that you can see in this little tiny hole, and you can't see any of the rest of it. It is completely concealed. The interior is done as well. You're saying, well, where's the rest of it? Well, the rest of it installs into the body. The dashboard glues into the body, as do the doors. So the secret with the doors is there's a small little notch next to the dashboard, and the door pushes in up there, and then it wedges itself quite nicely in between that and this plastic piece here, which also installs onto the body, not the chassis as the instructions. The instructions have you gluing it here. That is not how it works, because it will never make it past these parts here. It has to go in like this. So all of this mounts. And you'll notice that my doors aren't glued. And my doors aren't glued because you don't have to glue them. You totally do not have to glue those doors. So once you take this and you put this in, that's it. It holds the doors in place nicely. They don't move. They don't wiggle. Nothing. So I'm not gluing them. If I don't have to glue it, I'm not going to glue it. Leave the doors alone. And there it is. And because once you put the plate on the bottom and the screws, this is never coming apart again anyway. So at least for me. And if you're planning on, being able to remove the bottom and you want to super detail that engine, hey, it's your model kit. You build it how you want to build it. I didn't go crazy in there because, look, like, that's all you see. You see nothing. You even if you get in there with a flashlight, you're barely going to see those red heads in there. But I painted them red just because, they have to be red. But that's pretty much it. And now this thing, I've got it, it installs very easily, the chassis. And then this little guy here, Resin 38, is like the transmission, and he just kind of glues to the back there. I could find no, mounting tab, no indicator as to where it went. It quite clearly goes underneath this lip. So I've got it down there, and I think that's just so that you can see a little bit of it in the back, like it's just for realism. But that's it. So this is the car, and I don't think I have to take this apart again. I think I'll put the bottom on and the screws in, because everything else goes from the outside. All of this applies from the outside. I've got some photo etch metal pieces that I'm going to have to paint black, which I will do. And then all of this goes from the outside, of course. The seats and everything are done, except for the, I believe there are photo etch seat belts that I need to do. And I will probably do those with the chassis apart. I'll pull that body back out to do those seat belts. And then you're into, you know, final decals, metal transfers, wheels, and tires, which are already built. And this will be in the books. So we'll be moving toward final assembly very quickly. I'm thinking that next week's video will be the last video in this series. And that will be that. So stay tuned for more on the Alpha Models Ferrari SF90 Spider. Thanks for stopping by and watching the Alpha Models Ferrari SF90 Spider video number 8. Come on back next week where we will finish this kit with video number 9, put it into the books, and move on to the next kit, which I'm very excited about. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. All of that helps me and I greatly appreciate it. Also, check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all as Angelo's Workbench. I look forward to seeing you all next week.